All Blacks versus Ireland, guys. Chicago. How good? Can't wait, guys. Anyway, this video I'm going to be covering off my predicted 23 that I think the All Blacks will go with. Let me know your thoughts at the end, and there's certainly a couple of interesting talking points with some of the selections, but I think Razor will look to change his ways, and I think he needs to, the way the All Blacks are playing at the moment. So starting with the front row, I think they'll go with Tamaiti Williams, Cody Taylor and Fletcher Newell. I think for me, as I've said before, I still think on form, Tamaiti Williams is your form loosehead prop. Look, he's a big man, the power he brings, and certainly his work in the set piece, he's a genuinely world-class scrummager. But I think he's also got the edge a little bit over Ethan de Groot with sort of his work rate around the field and the physicality that he brings with his ball carry. So, yeah, I think he'll get the nod there. Cody Taylor. Look, honestly, guys, I think he's probably the head and shoulders form hooker in the country. I just think the basics he's doing so well, the set piece, the line out, you know, his high work rate, the experience that he brings. Yeah, so I think he'll be starting hooker, and yeah, like I said, I think he is a level above every other hooker in New Zealand at the moment. So interesting there. And then Fletcher Newell, I think, at tight head prop. I think just on form, I think he goes straight in there. And look, he's played well this year, done the basics well, good work rate. Again, the scrummaging, he's been solid at. So, and look, this front row, they've got a real task against this Ireland pack. Particularly that front row of Ireland will really test the All Blacks. So, good battle ahead for sure. Guys, if you're enjoying the content, please show some support for the channel. Hit the subscribe button, like the video, chuck some comments down below about my predicted lineup and the All Blacks versus Ireland. Look, how good. These are the games that we absolutely love to watch. I think in the locks, I think it'll be Scott Barrett, obviously as captain, and Fabian Holland, I think, comes straight in there. Interesting, there's been a bit of talk about Scott Barrett perhaps not being in the best form. I mean, it's tough. I think if you were brutally honest, I think compared to the level that he has played at in prior years, I think I'd probably say he probably isn't his best form that he can be at, but look, he's a class player and he does the basics well. His scrummaging, his work at the line out will be effective, and certainly his leadership will be massive for a high pressure test match against Ireland. And Fabian Holland, yeah, look, it's an interesting one there. I think he's the best next cab off the ranks. Interesting one there, like the 3 tests he played against the French earlier in the year, like he was outstanding, a newbie to the test arena. I still think on form he's at the moment with Tupuvai injured, he's the form second lock in the country, so he comes straight in there. 6, 7, 8, I think we go with Simon Parker, Ardie Savea at open side flanker. I think Ardie Savea will be the vice captain for this game, and then Peter Lakoi. So I just think Simon Parker, I think they'll keep going with him. I think there's a couple of attributes, like he's a tall man, brings that line out option. He's much a bit taller than a lot of the other blindside flankers, and that line out option is particularly useful against some testing international sides in the forwards, giving the All Blacks, 3 good line out options. And I think that he sort of goes unseen a lot of the time, that the physicality he brings, particularly you saw against the Springboks, the big, hard Springbok ball carriers, and they'd be stopped by his power and his defence. So that's particularly important. Does the basics really well, high work rate around the field. So I think they'll keep going with him. Ardie Savea at open side flanker. I mean, look, he could play 7 or 8, and look, he's a class player. I think if he just keeps his form going, I think he's absolutely up for World Player of the Year again in 2025. Absolute class player, and certainly the big moments he does, turnovers in very big moments, and the work rate he brings, roaming and physicality. Ardie Savea, an absolute class player. Number 8, I mean, it's interesting. I think at the start of the year, I would have hands down said Wallace Satiti would be your starting number 8, but I think from me, I think Peter Lakoi gets the nod there, and I say that I just sort of felt that Wallace Satiti's ball carrying is, I don't think it's where it was last year in 2024, particularly against the Springboks. He just didn't seem to have that power and be hitting the lines that he was last year to be making the meters upfield. So I'm not sure quite what's going on there with Wallace Atiti, but he'll certainly keep working hard. And I just think that Peter Lakai's got the nod over him there. Particularly you saw against the Wallabies, Peter Lakai. You give him a bit of space and he hits lines on an angle, good body height, good power in his ball carries. And the All Blacks definitely need that against a hard rush defence of the Irish. So I think for me, he's my starting number 8. But again, let me know your thoughts on that down below, guys. 9-10, I can't see any changes there. And probably these are pretty obvious. Look, Cam Roigard, Beauden Barrett. Cam Roigard, again, I think he's head and shoulders the best halfback in the country, particularly the physicality he brings around the rucks, the work rate he brings, the work that he brings on defence. He's sort of a fourth loose forward. And then Beauden Barrett, look, again, I can't see any changes there. The experience he brings, the game management and leadership he brings, look, he's going to get the nod over Damien McKenzie. 12-13, I think they'll go with Jordie Barrett, and an interesting one there, Quinn Tupaea. I just think they tried Billy Proctor, and Billy Proctor was good, but I just sort of felt he hasn't really had that X factor at 13 for the All Blacks. Like, his distribution game was good, his defence was good. But look, Quinn Tupaea in that second test against the Wallabies was just outstanding, wasn't he? Particularly the work he did on defence, the power that he brought on defence, the speed that he brings on attack, and that real aggression that he brings on attack really sort of made quite a difference. And I think he definitely had an edge over Billy Proctor. So, yeah, for me, I think Jordie Barrett, Quinn Tupaea. And the other thing as well, it was interesting, I thought, that for Jordie Barrett, you sort of see he's a big man. You know, often we see the physicality that Jordie Barrett brings, but with Quinn Tupaea bringing that physicality, you saw a different side of Jordie Barrett, that distribution game or that kicking option, and that was quite good to see. It sort of changes it up for the All Blacks on attack. I think 11, 14 and 15, I think Leroy Carter on the left wing, Lester Fainga'anuku and Will Jordan at the back. So it's an interesting one, but I just think on form, Leroy Carter has to be in there. Like, he has been absolutely outstanding for the All Blacks. Raw speed, he muscles up so well, you know, the power he brings, and certainly the involvement that he brings. I just think on form, he's got to be in that starting lineup for the All Blacks. Lester Fainga'anuku at 14. It's an interesting selection, that one, for sure. I mean, I sort of and ah about it, but I just think, you know, the likes of a Rieko Ioane on that right wing, that he looks really out of form, really lacking gas at the moment, I hate to say. And you look at the likes of a Lester Fainga'anuku, a big man, you know, he's tall, solid under the high ball. And I just think against that rush defence of the Irish, the physicality that the Irish are going to bring, particularly I'd like to see a couple of hard ball carries, hit Beauden short to a Lester Fainga'anuku up the midfield. I'm sure he would get over that advantage line, and then the All Blacks can go from there. And I just think that the speed he brings, he was good against the Wallabies. He's in the starting lineup. And then the tried and tested Will Jordan at the back. Look, he's class. The leadership he brings, he's definitely one of the best fullbacks in the world. I can't see any change there. I mean, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this down below. I just wonder if maybe Will Jordan's been a little bit flat in prior test matches against the Springboks and the Wallabies, but I mean, he's only as good as the amount of ball that he gets. So, and particularly, he's a smart rugby player. The leadership he'll bring, I think he's straight in there. To the reserves, I think they'll go with Samisoni Takiaho, Ethan de Groot and Pasiola Tosi. Samisoni, I think he's the best next cab off the rank, and what I think he's really good is quite an impact, particularly the muscle that he brings. Like, he's a lump of a man, and coming off the bench, you know, that he's going to be hard for the Irish to stop. And the All Blacks will need to really muscle up against a brutally physical Irish forward pack. Ethan de Groot, I think he is the next best loose head prop in the country, so I think he's straight in there. Tried and tested at international level. So, and then Pasiola Tosi, again, he's sort of like a Summersonian impact player. He's a big lump of a man, and you've seen it in a number of test matches this year where, you know, the size and muscle that he brings, he'll make a difference there. 1920, I think they go with Wallace Satidi and Josh Lord. So, I mean, it's interesting, but I just think they'll go with Wallace Satidi there. The cover that he brings, you know, he could be a 6, 7 or an 8. And certainly I think he's the best next loose forward on form. Work rate he brings around the field, the general skill set he has, and certainly the high work rate that he'll bring, he'll be effective off the bench. Josh Lord, I mean, a good opportunity for him. We haven't sort of seen him in the All Blacks for a while, but I just think on form, I think he's the best next lock in the country for the All Blacks. So straight in there. And then 21, 22, 23, I think they have Cortez Ratama, Billy Proctor, and Damien McKenzie. So I think Cortez Ratama, I think he's the best next halfback in the country. A raw competitor, a good work rate. He's a powerful halfback. He definitely tests and mans up physically against the opposition. Billy Proctor, yeah, I think he's the best next sort of midfielder. He could cover the wing if you really wanted him to, but good cover from the bench there. And then Damien McKenzie at the back. Yeah, really good impact player and really good cover, Damien McKenzie. He's a good, genuine athlete. So, unfortunately for him, you know, first 5 winger and fullback. So, that's some really good cover off the bench. Unfortunately for him, I think he's going to see a lot more time on the bench because of the skill set that he has to cover so many positions. So, but certainly the impact that Damien will have off the bench will be very important to really test that defence of the Irish. So, guys, let me know your thoughts on my predicted 23. It's good to be back after, you know, a bit of time out with my daughter. It's been a challenging, you know, few weeks anyway with her. So, but good to be back, and a hell of a test match in Chicago coming up. I remember years back when the All Blacks did lose to the Irish for the first time in Chicago. That was a hell of a test match. Boy, oh boy, the Irish are going to be up for this. Yeah, I hope the All Blacks are as well. Again, let me know your thoughts on my predicted 23. Chuck some banter down below about the team, the All Blacks, the Irish, the game ahead. Can't wait. Cheers.